They told me to pack my desk and leave by noon. Can you believe that? My own mom and dad. After 18 years of giving everything to their restaurant chain, I built those kitchens from scratch. I created the recipes everyone loved. But they didn't care about any of that. My dad looked me straight in the eye and said, "Sarah, you're not good enough. You never were." My younger brother Michael laughed and said, "Finally, we can stop pretending you matter here." They pushed a paper across the table. "Sign this," Mom said. "It says you're leaving because you want to. If you don't sign it right now, we'll fire you and you get nothing." But here's what they didn't know. I smiled and said, "Okay, I'll leave. But I'm writing my own goodbye letter." I typed just one sentence on that paper. 7 days later, their lawyer called me 3 times before breakfast. "Miss Johnson," he said, sounding really worried, "we need to talk about what you wrote. Especially the part about getting paid everything you're owed first." I didn't explain anything to him. "You'll figure it out," I told him. Then I hung up. Before I tell you what happened next, hit that subscribe button and write your city in the comments. I want to see how many people hear this story. But to understand why I stayed so calm while my family said those terrible things, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Sarah Johnson and I'm 42 years old. I grew up in the smell of fresh bread and sizzling bacon in Portland, Oregon. My parents, Robert and Linda Johnson, opened their first breakfast restaurant in 1995. They called it Sunrise Diners. It was tiny back then. Just one little place with 6 tables and a counter. But the food was really good. Real ingredients, big portions, and everything made fresh every morning. I started helping when I was still in high school. Weekends, holidays, every summer break. I was there in that kitchen learning everything. How to crack 50 eggs without breaking the yolks. How to flip pancakes so they come out perfect every time. How to make gravy that people dream about. How to cook bacon so it's crispy but not burnt. Those early years taught me things no school ever could. When I finished college in 2008 with a cooking degree from Oregon State University, I joined the family business full-time. I didn't even think twice about it. Back then, we only had 2 locations and maybe 20 people working for us. My job title was kitchen manager, but that didn't really mean much. I did everything. I made the work schedules. I ordered all the food supplies. I trained new cooks. I made sure every plate leaving the kitchen looked beautiful. And I jumped in to help wherever we needed it. Over the next 18 years, I became the heart of that business. Let me tell you about the 3 big things I did. First, I became the best at cooking. Everyone in our kitchens trusted me because I could work any station. Making omelets with 15 different fillings. Baking biscuits that melted in your mouth. Creating new pancake flavors that people drove across town to try. I memorized every secret recipe we had. Like our special cinnamon roll glaze that took 3 days to make. Or our homemade sausage seasoning that customers begged us to bottle and sell. If something went wrong, like the hash browns coming out soggy, I could figure out why and fix it immediately. Nobody else in the company knew the kitchen like I did. Second, I built relationships with customers and suppliers. Early on, I took over dealing with the food vendors and talking to customers. I went to restaurant trade shows and met buyers from hotel chains. I brought in our first big contract with a company that managed cafeterias at hospitals. That one deal became our biggest moneymaker for years. From there, I kept growing our customer list. Corporate breakfast catering for big offices downtown. Wedding brunch packages for fancy venues. Partnerships with hotels that served our food at their breakfast bars. These relationships weren't just about price. They were built on trust. Customers knew that when they ordered from us, I would personally make sure it was exactly right, arrived on time and tasted amazing. Many of them only wanted to talk to me, not our salespeople. I made deals that lasted for years and gave us steady money even when times were tough. Those contracts were the foundation of our growth. Third, I owned part of the company. My parents had set up a special agreement when the business started. It was all written down and legal. If I kept working hard and hitting my goals every year, I earned small pieces of ownership. It wasn't a gift. It was payment for all my hard work. By the time I was in my mid-30s, I owned a big chunk of the company. Enough to have a real say in decisions and a real stake in our success. My dad always said it was fair payment for all the long hours and dedication I showed since college. Those ownership papers had special rules too, including what happened if someone tried to push me out. My track record was perfect. Performance reviews. Outstanding every single time. Awards. I got them for efficiency and customer loyalty. Never once did I get in trouble or mess up. During tough times like when egg prices went crazy high, I kept our kitchens running by finding new suppliers and changing our menu without losing quality. Other restaurants struggled. We got more customers. I became the person everyone relied on. New workers learned our standards from me. When our accountant needed old cost information to adjust prices, I provided it. When salespeople pitched a new breakfast special, they asked me if we could actually make it and how long it would take. Most employees hired in the last 10 years came on board while I was watching over things. They saw me as the steady hand running daily operations. The company grew bigger because of these three things. Unmatched kitchen skills, strong customer loyalty built over years, and my legal ownership. Money kept coming in year after year. We opened more locations, and the Johnson name became known for reliable, delicious breakfast food. Everything felt safe for a long time. The business was doing great, my position was solid, and the future looked bright. Things only started changing about 4 years ago when my parents began talking seriously about retiring. My parents announced they would hand the company to the family member who deserved it most. First, it sounded fair. My father had built this from nothing, and my mother had helped him every step. They were both getting older, almost 70 by then. They talked more about retirement, long trips they wanted to take, winters in warm beach towns, time with the grandkids they hoped would come soon. They said the decision would be based on who was ready. I thought that meant me. I'd been there the longest, handled the most important stuff, and delivered amazing results. But as months went by, something weird started happening. They began putting all their attention on my younger brother, Michael Johnson. He was 35, 7 years younger than me. He'd only been working full-time with us for about 7 years. Before that, he'd jumped around selling insurance and cars. Nothing related to restaurants or cooking. Suddenly, my parents decided he needed special training. They paid for him to take business classes. One of those fast programs for people who already have jobs. Michael took classes on nights and weekends. He'd come home excited about things he learned, and my parents praised every tiny thing he did. Whenever he finished an assignment or gave a presentation, they'd tell everyone at family gatherings how smart he was becoming. My dad would say things like, "Michael really gets modern business," or "He's bringing new ideas we need for the next phase." My mom would repeat the same things, smiling whenever his name came up. Meanwhile, my accomplishments barely got noticed. If I landed a difficult new customer or solved a big kitchen problem, the response was just polite. A quick, "That's nice," before the conversation went back to Michael. His latest class. His networking events. His ideas for adding online ordering. It became the routine. Sunday dinners turned into updates about his progress, with my parents hanging on his every word. They started giving him visible jobs that made him look good but avoided his weak spots. He'd handle customer visits at trade shows, meet with delivery companies, pitch new menu items to smaller accounts. These were safer roles. No deep work on the complicated stuff like managing multiple kitchens or negotiating with suppliers. When he brought in a small new account, my parents celebrated like he'd won the lottery. They'd invite the whole family to celebrate his success. At the same time, they started asking him about decisions that used to automatically come to me. My father would call Michael into his office to discuss pricing or marketing budgets. Afterwards, Michael would tell me what they decided, casually, like it was normal. My mother started sending him emails from longtime suppliers, asking for his opinion before including me. The difference became super obvious during family events. Birthdays, holidays, even casual cookouts became stages for highlighting Michael. My parents would steer conversations toward his ideas for the company's future. Online influencer partnerships, opening a trendy downtown location, delivery apps and food trucks. They talked about these plans like they were already decided, with Michael leading them. I watched it happen in real time. My father, who used to ask him my opinion on everything, now asked Michael instead. My mother, who always tried to keep peace, smoothed things over by saying Michael brought the energy they needed as they stepped back. They weren't choosing the person with the most experience or the best track record. They were choosing the child who made retirement feel easiest. The one who wouldn't challenge them. The one who shared their excitement about stepping away without worry. Michael caught on fast. He started speaking with more authority in meetings, using fancy words from his classes like disruption and scalability. My parents loved it. They'd nod along and repeat his points later like they were brilliant. If I offered a different view based on actual day-to-day reality, the room would go quiet. Or they'd change the subject. The favoritism was obvious. Extended family noticed. My aunt would pull me aside after dinners and quietly ask if everything was okay. Employees noticed too. Suddenly Michael was invited to strategy meetings that never included him before. My parents said they wanted both of us prepared, but the investment of time, money, and praise told a different story. I felt the ground shifting under my feet. Years of hard work were being treated as routine, while Michael's newer involvement was treated as transformative. The message became crystal clear. My role was replaceable. His was the future. The worry settled in slowly. I still performed at the same high level, but all the recognition went to him. Family conversations revolved around his schedule, his opinions, his potential. My parents talked about retirement with growing confidence, like handing things to Michael solved all their concerns about the company's stability. They weren't angry with me. They weren't completely cutting me out. Not yet. They simply preferred the path that let them walk away feeling secure, with their son at the top, carrying forward the name in a way that matched their vision of ease and continuity. The pattern repeated over those 4 years. Every achievement for Michael became a family celebration. Every routine success of mine passed with barely a comment. The succession plan they described as merit-based showed itself to be something else entirely. Then the actual changes started coming little by little, in ways I could no longer ignore. Started with small things, like not being invited to meetings with major customers anymore. Those meetings used to be my thing. I'd prepare everything, review kitchen capacity, and lead talks about custom orders. Suddenly, the calendar invites stopped. When I asked my dad about it, he waved it off casually. Michael's handling that one. He's building relationships now. One by one, my main responsibilities shifted away. Control over food ordering moved to a new manager Michael hired from outside. Quality control reports that always came to me first started going straight to him. Decisions about buying ingredients, which I'd managed for years, needed his approval before anything final. The changes piled up quietly. Weekly leadership meetings cut my updates short while giving Michael more time to present his sales numbers. My parents attended most meetings and nodded along as he spoke. They rarely asked me follow-up questions. If I mentioned concerns about potential delays in upcoming orders, the response was mild reassurance that things would work out. Public doubt appeared during combined family and business gatherings. At one dinner, my mother mentioned a customer complaint about late delivery. Before I could explain the supply issue and the fix already happening, Michael jumped in with suggestions for restructuring our logistics. My father agreed immediately, saying it sounded smart. My explanation of why the current system worked fine under normal conditions went ignored. Similar moments kept happening. Michael would share opinions on areas he barely understood, and my parents accepted them without question. If I pointed out real-world problems with his ideas, the conversation moved away. Over time, the pattern became solid. My expertise was acknowledged briefly, but his ideas carried more weight. Staff noticed the shift too. Long-time employees who reported to me started checking with Michael on certain decisions. New hires oriented toward him from day one. When performance review time came, feedback forms included comments about needing to align more with the new direction. The exclusions became more direct. I was removed from email threads with key suppliers I'd worked with for over a decade. Budget approvals for kitchen improvements I proposed sat unanswered for weeks, while Michael's requests moved quickly. My father explained it as delegation, preparing for his reduced involvement. The message was consistent. My role was being shrunk piece by piece, redefined as support rather than leadership. Input that once shaped outcomes now served as background reference. Michael took center stage, fully backed by my parents. I kept performing at the same level. Deadlines met. Problems solved. Revenue targets hit. But the recognition flowed somewhere else. The erosion felt deliberate, designed to make my position feel less essential. Around this time I decided to protect myself. I reached out quietly to Michelle Torres, an employment lawyer recommended by someone outside the company. We met for coffee away from Portland. She listened carefully as I described the pattern without getting emotional. When I finished, her advice was clear. Nothing illegal yet, but patterns like this can get worse. If things go bad, you'll need proof. Start saving everything. Emails, meeting notes, decisions, approvals. Keep copies somewhere safe, not on company computers. I took her advice seriously. That night, I set up a private cloud account with strong security. Every important message, every forwarded chain, every schedule change, I saved it. Meeting notes from leadership sessions went in right after. Performance data, customer emails, budget documents, all backed up regularly. It became a habit. After each shift in responsibility, I noted the date and what happened. When approvals skipped me, I took screenshots. I organized folders by category. Staff changes, customer communications, financial decisions. Nothing dramatic, just careful records. Michelle checked in occasionally by email. Her updates stayed measured. Keep collecting. Good documentation is your strongest weapon. If push comes to shove. No predictions, no alarm. Just emphasis on being prepared. The exclusions continued. A major hotel chain asked for a kitchen tour and specifically requested me by name. The visit got scheduled, but Michael led it. My parents attended and introduced him as the future face of operations. I stayed back at the office handling boring tasks. Feedback from that tour went to Michael first. Positive notes went to him. Small suggestions for improvement landed in my inbox with no explanation. The customer relationship I'd built for years started routing through him instead. I documented it all. The habit gave me a sense of control as I was gradually pushed aside. My work stayed excellent. My files stayed perfect. But the writing on the wall grew clearer. The sidelining sped up in small steps. Input requested less often. Decisions announced after they were made. Praise directed elsewhere. The company ran smoothly on systems I had built, yet my visibility shrank steadily. Michelle's words echoed in my head. Evidence mattered. I expanded the backups to include organizational charts as they changed, job descriptions as they moved to other people, even casual notes from family discussions about the business. The collection grew big, organized, and time-stamped. It wasn't about fighting yet. Just insurance against whatever came next. And then everything truly got worse on one Friday evening I'll never forget. I drove to my parents' house that evening thinking it was just regular family dinner. The table was nicely set when I arrived. My father sat at the head. My mother beside him. Michael was already there, leaning back in his chair looking smug. My Aunt Karen, who handles human resources for the company, was also there. A folder sat in front of her. We ate in almost silence at first. Small talk about weather. A neighbor's new dog. Then my father cleared his throat. "We need to discuss the future of the business," he said. My mother nodded. "It's time to make some official changes." Karen opened the folder and slid a document across the table toward me. It was a resignation letter already written on company paper. We've decided Michael will take full leadership now, my father continued. You've done a lot over the years, but the company needs new energy moving forward. Michael spoke up. You've had your time, sis. It's my turn now. My mother added quietly. This is best for everyone. We want a smooth change as we step back. Karen spoke next, her tone formal. The letter says you're resigning by choice, starting right now. In return, you'll get 3 months of pay and health insurance for that time. A neutral reference letter. It's a clean break. I looked at the page. The words released the company from any claims about my job or separation. My father leaned forward. Sign it tonight and we keep this friendly. Refuse and we'll have to fire you for restructuring. No severance. No benefit payout. Michael smirked again. Come on, don't make this harder than it needs to be. The words hit like punches. Incompetent. Riding family coattails. Draining the company. The same phrases they'd used before, now said without hesitation in front of Karen. They presented it as a choice, but the options were clear. Accept the small package or leave with nothing. It wasn't voluntary. It was forced, dressed up as generosity. I felt the weight of that room. My own family lined up against me, ready to cut ties over a signature. I kept my voice steady. I'll resign, I said. But I want to write the letter myself. My father frowned slightly. We've already prepared one that covers everything legally. Karen nodded. It's standard language. I understand, I replied. Still, I'd rather use my own words. Michael rolled his eyes. Fine, whatever. Just get it done. My parents looked at each other. My father shrugged. As long as it clearly says you're stepping down immediately. We need this finished tonight. I pulled out my phone, opened a blank document, and typed one carefully written sentence I'd prepared months earlier with professional review. I hereby resign my position as Chief Kitchen Officer at Sunrise Diners, effective upon full and complete payment of all owed salary, bonuses, ownership shares, severance payments, and any other amounts owed to me under my work contracts, ownership documents, and the law. I read it once more, signed it digitally, printed a copy on their home printer, and handed it across the table. My father skimmed it quickly. Looks fine, he said, passing it to Karen. She glanced over the single line. It says resignation. That's the important part. Michael barely looked. Great. We're done here. None of them paused on the conditional wording. They saw the word resign and thought they'd won. Karen tucked the letter into her folder. We'll process the severance as discussed. My mother offered a tight smile. This will be better for all of us. The conversation shifted to lighter topics. Weekend plans. Cousin's baby shower. Like the whole thing was settled. I finished dinner quietly, helped clear plates out of habit, then said goodnight. I drove home that night and sat in my car, waiting to see how they'd react. A week passed quietly. Then my phone rang early one morning. The screen showed an unknown local number. Answered. Miss Johnson, this is David Matthews calling for your family and the company, he said, voice careful and professional. I'm reviewing the resignation letter you submitted. There's some wording that needs clarification before we can process it. Waited. He continued. Specifically, the part making it effective only after full payment of all agreements. Could you explain what you mean? I spoke calmly. Sure. Means exactly what it says. My resignation happens only after I receive complete payment of everything owed. Owed salary, bonuses, full ownership value, severance under the ownership change rules in our shareholder agreement, and anything else required by law. Until that full payment is made, I'm still an employee and shareholder with all my rights and benefits. Silence stretched on the line. I went on. The shareholder agreement signed years ago includes fast-track payments and severance when control shifts significantly, which has happened now that leadership is moving to Michael. Performance bonuses tied to revenue targets I met are also payable when I leave. Oregon law supports enforcement of these written terms. More silence. Then I added the breakdown I'd prepared. Base pay through the date of the letter. Unused vacation. Outstanding expenses. The yearly bonus for this year based on company performance I directly influenced. Full value of my ownership shares at current company worth. Severance equal to 18 months salary plus continued benefits as outlined in the succession protections. Total comes to $1,820,000, plus legal fees if we need courts involved. David cleared his throat. That figure is way higher than the 3 months discussed. It's what the contracts require, I replied. You accepted the letter. The condition is now binding. He paused again. I'll need to review this with your parents and Michael. We may have questions. I'm available, I said. He ended the call fast. The next few days brought no contact. I continued working from home, accessing computer systems as usual since nothing had been shut off yet. Emails still came. Schedules stayed active. Then David called again 4 days later. Miss Johnson, he started, voice tight. Your family disputes several of these claims. They believe the resignation was unconditional and the severance offer was generous. I responded evenly. The signed letter says otherwise. It was reviewed by multiple people that night and accepted. He tried another angle. Pursuing this could damage relationships permanently. A compromise might help everyone. My position isn't about damage, I said. It's about enforcing written agreements. He pressed on. They're prepared to offer 6 months severance and partial bonus payout to resolve this nicely. That falls far short, I answered. The documents are clear. The calls got more frequent. David relayed messages from my parents. Disappointment, frustration, appeals to family loyalty. Michael got on one call directly, voice raised. You're holding the company hostage over wording, he yelled. No, I said. You're facing consequences for not reading carefully. My father joined another call, sounding tired. Sarah, think about what this does to all of us. Just take the original offer and move on. I held firm. The offer doesn't match what's owed. My mother tried separately, voice softer. We never meant for it to come to this. Can't we find middle ground? Michelle reviewed every exchange, telling me to stay factual and keep documenting. David's tone shifted over the weeks. Early confidence turned to urgency. He began acknowledging specific rules. The ownership acceleration does appear triggered, while still pushing lower numbers. They countered with 9 months' pay and half the ownership value. He declined. Then 12 months plus full bonus but no ownership value. Declined again. Each refusal brought longer pauses and background conversations I could hear. One evening call included all of them on speaker. Travis accused me of greed. My father warned about legal costs. My mother begged for peace. I repeated the same points. Contracts. Accepted letter. Enforceable terms. David interrupted the family at one point. She's correct on the key provisions. Fighting this risks more exposure. The panic became clear. Offers climbed. 15 months, then full severance with partial ownership value. Still short. Michelle sent formal demand letters outlining legal cases on conditional resignations and shareholder rights in small companies. The final offer came after 3 weeks of back and forth. David called alone. We're prepared to meet the full amount, he said, voice flat. $1,820,000 wired within 10 business days, plus your documented legal fees. In exchange for a mutual release and confidentiality agreement. I confirm the terms match the contracts, he added. Your family hopes this ends things cleanly. I agreed to the settlement. After several tense weeks of back and forth, the money finally arrived in my account. The day the wire transfer came through in full, along with Michelle's legal fees covered, I didn't feel victory. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the bank notification. The amount matched every penny outlined in the agreements. The settlement release was signed by everyone. My resignation became official the moment the money cleared. I blocked the family phone numbers that same afternoon. No dramatic messages. No explanations. Just silence. Emails from my parents went unread and archived. Michael tried reaching out once through a mutual cousin. I didn't respond. The cutoff was complete. No holidays. No updates. No contact. The people who raised me became strangers by my choice this time. In the months that followed, news about the company reached me through restaurant industry channels and former co-workers who still checked in sometimes. The first major contract loss came about 4 months later. That long-standing hospital cafeteria contract decided not to renew. They said communication was inconsistent and food quality had dropped. Things that were never an issue before. Michael handled the account personally by then, but the relationship had always been based on trust built over years. Trust tied to my direct involvement. Other customers followed slowly. A luxury hotel chain in Seattle reduced orders, mentioning problems with breakfast consistency. Corporate catering clients that relied on seasonal menus delayed commitments, waiting for assurance on timing they once took for granted. Kitchen problems appeared too. Delays in getting ingredients led to late deliveries. Food quality issues showed up at locations. Employees who messaged me privately described confusion over standards that used to be automatic. Michael pushed new ideas. Online ordering apps. Instagram influencer partnerships. Faster service promises. Some gained temporary attention, but main customers wanted reliability over flashy stuff. Revenue dropped quarter by quarter. By the end of the first year, the decline was obvious. Several key cooks retired or left for competitors. Food suppliers tightened credit after late payments. The company that once grew steadily now fought just to hold on. My parents postponed retirement plans for good. The freedom they wanted disappeared as they stepped back in to help run things. Michael worked longer hours, but gaps in knowledge kept widening. I didn't follow any of it closely. Occasional updates came without me asking. Industry reports. Mutual friends mentioning struggles. I acknowledged them without getting involved. I moved forward on my terms. Consulting work started small. Helping other restaurant owners improve their kitchens. Advising on contracts for family-run businesses. My rates reflected my experience. Clients valued straightforward guidance without emotional baggage. Life got simpler. No family obligations. No expectations tied to blood. Decisions rested only on what helped me. The settlement gave security. Investments grew quietly. I moved to a smaller place outside the city, closer to mountains and peaceful streets. I never regretted the silence. Attempts at making up happened once or twice. Brief emails from my mother expressing sadness. A voicemail from my father suggesting coffee. I left them unanswered. The company kept sliding. Market share shrunk further as competitors filled gaps. The Johnson name lost some of its former weight in Portland circles. I learned a clear lesson from the whole experience. In family business, love doesn't replace clear paperwork. Assumptions about loyalty can cost everything. Document your rights early. Enforce them without hesitation when needed. And accept that protecting yourself sometimes means walking away completely, even from the people closest to you. That's the reality I live with now. Cold perhaps, but free. That's my story. The story of how my family tried to throw me away, and how one sentence in a resignation letter changed everything. If you made it this far, drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. And don't forget to subscribe to Flex Revenge Unfold for more stories like this. Because sometimes, the best revenge is simply knowing your worth and making them pay for forgetting it.